The only thing I want to do right now is talk about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. It is phenomenal. Now, I know that there were people out there who are like, what has happened to Chelsea? Why is she just such a buzzkill with all these movies coming out, being like, I hate it. I still stand by my Little Mermaid review. I hated it. But everything bad that I said about that movie can be 180-degree flopped to what this movie is. I was honestly left breathless at the end. Speechless, breathless. I was stunned at how good this movie was and how entrenched in the story I became. From the animation to the soundtrack to all of the meticulous planning they put into the story of this, it just was everything. It was a perfect movie. I have not seen a movie like this in a very long time, and I just have to put it out there. It is phenomenal. I'm not going to give any spoilers because I really want you to go into this movie as clean as I was when I went in. Now, I had already seen Across the Spider-Verse, or I'm sorry, Into the Spider-Verse. What is up with this name? That is the only bad thing I can say about this movie is the name. It's too much. Across the Spider-Verse, Into the Spider-Verse. Okay, so the first one he goes in, this one he goes across, and then... Yes. Okay. I loved it. The animation style in this was something to write a doctorate review on. It was just so amazing. Every character had a very fleshed out and defined character animation style, as well as color scheme, and just everything about it was unique to them. So if you are a fan of Spider-Man at all, then you are going to absolutely love this film. If you have never seen anything Spider-Man before, you're not going to be as entrenched as everybody else. However, it does do a good job of catching you up to that point, and to the point where me having already seen the first one, I didn't feel like I needed all the recap, but I can understand why other people would want it if this was the first time they were ever seeing anything. The storyline goes, it's been a year and a half since the events of the very first movie, and so he's kind of grown into his place, and I mean that figuratively and literally. He's had a growth spurt. He's about 15 years old now, and really taking on so much more than what anybody else is in anywhere. Like Mr. Spider-Man is 15. That's crazy. But he is struggling with the fact that he doesn't really have any friends or anybody that he can really turn to. And so he's struggling with like, do I tell my parents or do I not? And what's going on? And how do I keep everybody safe and still be able to do what I love doing? We also get a little bit of information from Gwen Stacy, who in her universe is the Spider-Woman. She's moody. She's a drummer, as drummers tend to be. I'm kidding. Or am I? If you know, you know. But she's really struggling with the fact that she can't tell her dad who she is, and the fact that he thinks that she killed Peter Parker, her best friend, which obviously when you watch the movie, you're like, oh yeah, that obviously didn't happen. These are all people that we met in the first movie. However, in this one, we dig a lot deeper into their own motivations and their struggles, and everything is very humanizing, even though they're all spider supernatural characters and beings. And I think that the overall arc of the story, it's one of those movies that will leave you thinking. It will leave you contemplating about how the story was written and basically what are they trying to say with this, but in a way that makes you really love it. And that was one thing that I absolutely loved about this movie is you could tell, even with bringing in all of these different spider people, each one of their character lines was treated with this respect and with this like love. Like you could tell that the writers of this story, because they had several directors, they had several people making sure that this worked out. You could tell that anything that they put into this movie, they were putting into it because they loved it. Not because they wanted to change it or add their own spin on it, but because they wanted to advance the story and the lore and the canon itself. I honestly cannot wait to talk more about this film. Right now, the podcast is kind of on hiatus, unofficially, mostly because My co-host, Morgan Stradling, just had her 4th child and is, maternity leave, taking her time. And I'm like, you do that. But when she's ready, we're definitely going to be pulling this one up and talking about it because, wow, so good. Hey, did you know I wrote a book? Actually, it's a journal. It says, My Bucket List, 100 Dreams for God to Guide Me. And inside it has, you guessed it, a place where you can write your bucket list. On my personal channel, Chelsea Robson, I will be going through my own bucket list, and I want to hear more about yours. So go ahead, click on the link and buy one, and then let's start filling out our bucket list together.